When I think of Maury Collen, I think of two words: pioneer and vision. He was not just a year or two ahead of his time, he was decades ahead of his time.
Dr. Morris Collen, barred from military service because of his asthma, cabled TPMG founding physician Sidney Garfield to apply for a job as a homefront doctor. He started on July 1, 1942, taking care of workers from the Henry J. Kaiser shipyards in Richmond. They came by the tens of thousands. Dr. Collen soon found himself in the frenzied days of the war, running the largest civilian pneumonia clinic in the country.
We had so many patients with pneumonia. At one time, I had 90 patients. They overflowed the small wards we had. And in the basement of the hospital, we laid mattresses on the floor, orange boxes as bedside tables, and that's where we treated pneumonias.
This might seem chaotic, but it wasn't, because Dr. Collen's ability to systematize, to organize.
It was this ability that Dr. Collen in 1951 used to create systematized mass health checkups for longshoremen and later other health plan members. In 1960, when Dr. Garfield asked him to explore the potential value of the computer in medicine, Dr. Collen became one of the pioneers in creating the field of medical informatics by adapting the multiphasic to the computer.
It became very clear that the multiphasic program was an ideal way to start using computers.
One of the things that was most impressive about Maury was his keen analytical mind. He sees things very clearly, he analyzes them, has a very logical way of approaching problems. He had visions of other things that could be done particularly in the computer world. And he was so far ahead of his time.
With this work, the Department of Medical Methods Research, later renamed the Division of Research, was born, with Dr. Collen as founding director. He led a growing research team. Its members produced hundreds of research papers and distinguished themselves in the pioneering days of medical informatics. Over the ensuing decades, the research program put Dr. Collen at the forefront of fulfilling the dream of Dr. Garfield and Henry Kaiser, that research be a central value of Kaiser Permanente.
It was very clear to Mr. Kaiser and Dr. Garfield that to continue to provide good quality care, one had to do research.
Maury saw the potential far beyond most people, far beyond almost anyone. I think obviously Sidney Garfield saw that very early on, and Cecil Cutting and some of the key founding people. But Maury saw that potential from a research perspective, possibly better than anyone else.
When I started working for Maury in the late 1960s, those were very exciting times because Maury and his team were really on the forefront of computerizing medical records and developing research capabilities in the HMO setting.
Maury is and has been a visionary for the last 50 years. He had a vision of how technology could help deliver medical care to a large population of members, and he's pursued that, and we've all pursued it.
Maury understood that to be successful, Kaiser Permanente had to not just practice great medicine, it had to create great medicine.
As for today, Dr. Collen still works at the Division of Research on a part-time basis.
He continues to work regularly, to come to the office and work and write regularly. I think the fact that he continues working, the fact that he's stuck to this vision, comes from the fact that he's inspired. And I'd say he's inspired by the organization that he played such a big role in putting together.
Dr. Collen's current project, with Dr. Joe Turdeman as principal investigator, is development of the National Research Database. His particular interest is the potential to detect adverse events associated with multiple drugs in the elderly. As always, his vision is on the future, something he described in an interview a few years ago.
I think these are the most exciting times ever.